About you, Wendy. Are you ready to go live? Are we live?
We're here.
We're here. A little bit late due to some technical difficulties. But hey, what? We don't panic. We pivot and make it happen. So we got some good stuff to talk about today. I had a few people reach out to me this past week, and then also working with some clients. And obviously, I think it's because it's the new year. Everybody's kind of getting into the groove for 2022. It's February 1st, right? Tomorrow is one of my favorite days, Groundhog Day. If you've ever seen the movie. But
I like the movie, but I would never know when actual Groundhog Day was. Like
2/2. And it's a special one this year because it's 2/2 of 2022. So
oh yeah, 2/2/2/2.
I know, that's right. I'm gonna make a road trip one day to Puxatawny, PA, just to experience all that. So anyway, but whole other conversation for another day. But today we're talking about debt, right? And getting out of debt, not getting into debt. I guess if you got into debt, but how do I get out of debt? I mean, have you ever struggled with debt?
Yup.
Okay, well, good deal. So I have to.
No, I'm just kidding.
So if you're out there watching, we're going to be talking about it. So do me a favor, reach out to your friends or family, share this link, let them know, hey, we're getting ready to talk about debt. Get on here. We've also got a new thing called Black Swan Money Club, which we're going to talk about. But we'll get started here in just a minute. All right, we are back. And I think for those of you that know me, I'm getting over COVID. So I was down last week pretty bad with a serious case of the Omicron Pi or Optimus Prime or whatever the hell they're calling it. But I've got a brain cloud going on. So I'm on the struggle bus a little bit, Wendy. I'm not gonna lie.
I hear that it happens. I have yet to experience COVID, knock on wood, but
yeah,
I take my supplements.
I did too, but apparently I got to remind myself not to chew the gum under the picnic table. So, but it was a joke. I don't really do that. Maybe the one time, but I was young. So
the other day I was at a restaurant and I was trying to find a purse hook and I was like, all I found was gum. Don't reach under the table.
Yeah, that's kind of okay. Anyway, who does that, by the way? Who sticks their freaking gum?
I hope it's kids.
I'm betting it's not, but I hope it is too, but I'm betting it's not. So anyway, that's not what we're talking about today either. So we're talking about debt.
Yes.
How the hell did I get here? Right. And that's maybe what some of you are saying. But how do you get there and why do you want to get out of it, especially with what's going on now in the economy? Yeah. And what's the best way to get out of debt? Because there's a lot of different gurus and we talk about gurus all the time and this, that, and the other. This is one of the things that, one of the strategies I agree with Dave on some of it, and Susie as well, right? But we'll talk a little about that. But I'll share my story. But what's been your struggle, or have you had any struggles with debt, or what's your thought on all that?
Yeah. So I think I might have shared this a couple weeks ago, but the only time I really got super stressed about debt was we had an American Express that you had to pay off in full every month. Mm-hmm. And my business was going like this. And I would put 10 to 15 grand on, I know a lot, but on the card every month, but we would pay it off every month. And it was never an issue because we just put everything on it and and then would pay it off. And then my business went backwards for a few months and started depleting funds. And then we were I was in the middle of adopting kids and I needed to pay a giant fee for that. And then all of a sudden I was like, I can't pay this $17,000 bill. And it was super stressful. I've never been like the one, when I was in my 20s, I did the store cards, I'll just spend $2,000 on clothes and pay it off over time. But outside of student loans, I've never had really consumer debt. My biggest issue ever, my biggest stress point ever was when the housing. So when I was in my 20s and we bought a house, we did an 80/20, but the 20 was a ballooning interest only, which I didn't know what I was signing when I signed it. And that bill came due. It's a little stressful. It's a little bit different than what we're talking about today, but those have been kind of my debt stress stories.
Your debt stress. Well, it's not too different. I mean, that balloon, a lot of people, they don't read the fine print, or they don't understand. They read it, but they don't understand what they're reading and what the implications are. But, I was one of those people that I remember I got my first credit card. It was a Discover card in college. And, of course they were, hey, $1,000, you pre-qualify because you're a college student. We know you're going to make a lot of money and we want to keep you enslaved in debt from the very day one. Is what I see now, but that's not what they said. It's low payments, you can afford $20 a month. And that's how a lot of us get trapped in it. And you get into that consumer credit card debt and or the other debt. And there's, and I'm not talking business debt. So first of all, if you're a business owner or a solopreneur, you should have a credit card separate for your business, right? You don't want to commingle, and Wendy and I have talked about that before, but you want to run it kind of separate. Don't use one card for everything, right? Use one card for your business and then have a separate card for your personal stuff, and never shall the two meet kind of thing. But I know sometimes that's, it's like, well, I'm just doing a little side hustle, this, that, or the other. But if you've got a business and you're serious about it, get a whole separate card for that. And that's again, a conversation for another day. But I got into debt pretty significantly. I mean, I think I want to say I had like $63,000 worth of unsecured debt, and I'll share that with you. Don't judge me, but we all go through that. And if you're one of those people that have never had it, God bless you. That's awesome. But I struggled with it. But it's one of those things that you get to a point where I don't want to say I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, but you're paying on the minimums, and I was doing what I thought was the right thing to do, which was pay extra on all of them, right? And try to get out of debt. But what would happen was something else would happen, car issue or something like that. And the next thing you know, it's like, damn, I thought I was making some headway and it's going in reverse. I don't know if anybody, chime in on the comments if you can relate to that, or am I like the only one, which I know I'm not. But so, we kind of came across some different ideas on how to get that paid off. And we came across, the Dead Snowball process. And I didn't really understand it. And a lot of people have heard of the Dead Snowball, but really, how does it work and what can it do? And we were able to pay that off in like no time.
Well, I think so about the Dead Snowball. I've heard it, right? I've, been taught it, and I understand the concept, but seeing it in action, whole different story.
Yeah. Well, and that's something. So, I talk to clients, you talk to clients, right? In regards to, how do I get out of debt? Because everybody wants to be out of debt. Why do you want to be out of debt? Well, if you look at the stress it causes, right? And I'm not talking about business debt. Again, I'm talking about this unsecured stuff, but the stress that it causes. B, look at the interest rate. Most people, especially on like credit cards, things like that, you're paying anywhere from 18, 19, sometimes 28% on credit cards. And that crap adds up. You don't think it does, but it adds up. And you look at what could that money be doing for you? It's just all of a sudden it's like, and then you get to a point where you're barely keeping your head above water, and you're just making the minimums. And that's just waiting for something to kind of the hammer to drop, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And it looks at it, but we've had a couple clients this week, and I had one that, hey, I want to pull some money out of a 401k to pay off my debt. And they had, I don't know, like $30,000 in unsecured debt. And you look at that, and that's a bad move. You never want to pull money out of it.
Tell me.
What's that?
Why? Tell me why.
Well, because I said so. No, I'm kidding. You're robbing from your future self. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. And I've done that too, folks. I mean, when it comes to financial, I mean, I'm not 20, 30 years ago was not the financial person I am today. I learned just like you guys. But if you pull out, say $20,000 is what they were talking about doing, about $25,000 to pay off credit card debt. So first of all, we all know if you pull it out of a 401k or something like that, you're going to get hit with a penalty, right? Which is 10%. So you lose $2,500 like right off the gate. You just burn it, right? Because it's a 10% penalty because it's a qualified account. Second thing is you now have to pay taxes on that too. Okay, so you have to actually pull out if you want to pay off $25,000 in debt, you have to pay out or pull out like 33 in order to pay the taxes and penalties and stuff like that to still have the 25,000 left over. That's not even the big thing. The big thing is you're pulling or robbing from your future self. Okay. And what I mean by that, we teach a concept called the Rule of 72 that talks about compound growth. Okay. And it's a super easy formula on how fast or how slow your money is going to double. All you do is you take 72, the number, Rule of 72, divided by whatever rate of return you're receiving. And the number that comes back is approximately how long it takes for that money to double. So if you look at it, let's say I'm getting easy math, 10% rate of return. So 72 divided by 10 means that money is going to double every 10 years or 7 years, excuse me. Yeah, 7.2 years. Yeah, sorry. COVID brain, told you. So it's every 7.2 years, right?
Well,
so
look, I'm learning something.
I know you're correcting me. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you look at that. So if I'm, call it 35, right? That money theoretically could double in there, between 35 and 65. That's 30 years. So it could double like, 4 times.
Right.
So if I pull out 30 grand to pay 25,000 credit cards, I'm not pulling out 30,000. I'm pulling out 30 to 60. 60 to 120, 120 to $240,000. So that $30,000 you just pulled out cost you, the future you, $240,000. Do you follow what I'm saying there?
So, yeah. So it's like dumb. It's just not.
Yeah.
But people do it all the time. I did it not with a 401k, but I had a little retirement account and I pulled money out to pay stuff off before.
Yeah.
And guess what? Well, I met you. I didn't have a retirement account again.
Well, right? That's the thing, right? Or you leave jobs. I see this all the time too. You leave a job and you've got, I've only got like 15,000 in there, 20. I'm just going to cash it out.
Right.
And you think it's no big deal. But then if you, again, that Rule of 72, you start doing the math and, especially the younger you are, the more you just cost yourself. I mean, to think that I just paid off $25,000 in credit cards and it cost me $250,000 to do it, you would never in a million years do that.
But do you know that when I took my stuff out, nobody explained that to me. They just said the penalty.
Yeah, they don't care. It's like, oh, you got a penalty, no big deal, right?
Right. So I love that you explain that to people.
Well, and that's again, you've got to look at the big picture. And so many people look at, and I see this with business owners and, setting up SEP IRAs to save taxes. Yeah, you save taxes today, but look at the big picture, right? You're paying actually more in taxes. So it's the same way with pulling money out of a 401k to pay off things or, cashing out. Now, another one was, hey, I've got this big lump sum inheritance I just got, right? And this was another client, as a matter of fact, this past week, and I talked to them about the same thing. And they said, well, we're just going to use that to pay off all of our debt. And I understand that. But is there a lesson that's going to be learned? And we talk about consolidation loans too, right? Because it's so pain-free, you didn't experience the pain. What typically happens, and I've got a client right now I'm working with. What do they do? Exactly. They run it right back up. So now, especially because we have a client that had a consolidation, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people have done this. It's not like that person's the only one. But they did a consolidation loan and they went right back out and ran the credit cards back up. So now they've got the same debt again, and they've got the high payment on the consolidation loan that they did.
Yep. Pain is more motivating than pleasure. And when you, like you said, you remove that pain by going, oh, I consolidated, it's no big deal. Or, oh, I paid it off with this lump sum that I got, it's no big deal. And those credit cards still sit there, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't have the pain and you're like, oh, I'll just go with pleasure. I want to rack it all back up, right? Yeah, right? I feel good. Go shopping.
Well, you give yourself a pass. Well, I got out of it this one time. I'll get out of it again, right? It's no big deal. And then the next thing you know, because you haven't learned new money habits, you haven't learned a new money mindset because you didn't experience the pain, the growth through that pain.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean you have to go out and have pain in order to learn anything? No. But like you just said, right? It's a good teacher.
It is.
It's a good teacher, because I can remember the stress that I was under, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in that situation again. So
think back on your life and like all those turning points for you. They never came because you were just like, I have a dream, right? Like they came because you're like, this freaking sucks. I need to change something, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, and folks, you've got to get to a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, you know, we've talked about manifesting and, you know, laws of attraction and all that stuff and the power of positive thinking. And that's all good stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to work and you got to put your, you know, your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And you got to make a conscious effort to take action and consistent action. And that's where, you know, you start looking at, should I do a consolidation loan? Well, if you've got a lot of debt and, you know, you're going to use equity in your house, or you've got good credit and you can go out and get a small, you know, unsecured loan, or, you know, God forbid, don't ever do one of those auto title loans. But, you know, you look at that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's easier, but in the long run, I think you're costing yourself more, because especially on a consolidation loan, you're stretching those payments out. Right. And, you know, if you're disciplined enough and have the reality check of, okay, I'm not going to do this again, and get rid of the cards, don't cancel the accounts, but cut the cards up, keep the accounts open, and just cut the cards up so you can't use them. You know, that's a great idea to do it, because it won't impact your credit. You don't have access to it. Right. So it's not easy to use. But, you know, definitely you want to avoid the easy way out, which is pulling out of your 401k. The second easy way out, not quite as easy, as the consolidation loan. Okay. I think that's not a bad backup, but the primary way to get out of debt is through the snowball process. Right.
Yep.
Now, you and I have talked about this, Wendy. So give a high level overview on that snowball process. What is that?
So the debt snowball, you take all your debts and put them in order from the lowest balance up to the highest balance, or highest balance down to the lowest, whatever you want. And you're going to pay minimum payments on everything. Okay. Because I didn't realize, like, I've always had this concept, but I didn't realize how many people, like, I know with the clients we've been working with, like almost everybody just pays a little more than the minimum payment on all their cards. Right. And so, and it's like going to take them forever to get out of debt. So when you order them that way, and then you pay extra, whatever you can afford extra, like set a specific budget, not just, oh, this month I'll pay this, but saying, hey, in my budget, I've got an extra $200 I can do something with, pay it towards that smallest balance and get it paid off. And then if that 200 plus whatever say the minimum payment was 50. So you take that 250 and then apply it to the next one, the next smallest card on the list. And what I'm like blown away by is how, like, watching it, like, so John has this amazing spreadsheet that he does with his clients and puts in all the stuff, and you see how quickly you can actually pay off all of that debt. And I've seen him take clients from thinking they're not going to pay things off for 20 years to it being half the time. And that's what I meant earlier when I said seeing it in action, like seeing, like, having the concept of it is one thing, but seeing the numbers play out is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing, not easy, but how simple it really is. But it's all about, you know, like when you said, paying the minimum payments, you stack all your bills, smallest to tallest on the balances, right? And simply decide, okay, I can afford to contribute an extra $200 or $150 a month or $300 a month or whatever the case may be, towards my bills. And then the key is not to run them back up while you're paying them off, right? But, you know, just start laying them out. And literally, you know, the stuff that's the example she's talking about, we sat down with two clients. One of them, you know, they had just refinanced their mortgage, and, you know, they were like, man, we've got a 30-year mortgage, and we've got all this debt we're trying to figure out, because they wanted a lower payment. And we ended up setting them up to where they were going to have everything, including the house, paid off in 10 and a half years. And I know some of you thinking, well, John, you said not to pay off your house early. Pay off your house early to time it with retirement. They wanted to retire in 10 years. Okay. And so they were older, kind of getting started, but literally we had everything on the money they were already spending. We rearranged it, and boom, it was going to have everything, including the house, paid off in 10 and a half years.
That's the power of it. You rearrange the money they were already putting towards it.
Yep.
and cut the time in half.
Yeah, more than half. But that's the thing. It's just, so many people don't realize the power of the snowball and how effective it is. And then we just had another situation where client had a bunch of debt, went out and got a consolidation loan. Oh, there's no pain there. Went right back out and used the credit cards again. Now they've got both. And now they're stressed out trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get out of this hole now? And so we sat down and said, okay, what extra can you apply? And they said they could do an extra $200, which if you're in a situation, folks, where I don't have any extra money, you're lying to yourself. Okay. What's that?
Then go do a budget and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Or go do DoorDash. Right. Pick up once a week. Go do DoorDash once a week. Pay off all your bills. Boom. There you go. Okay. There's money out there to be made. Right. But anyway, so we sat down with this client and kind of walked her through the same situation. 3.5 years. 3.5 years, everything was paid off. All the new debt, all the old debt, 3.5 years. And she was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, here's the numbers right here.
And all of a sudden she gets a massive pay raise in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And then imagine what you could be doing for putting that money to work for you, putting it towards your retirement, towards your wealth building, things like that, towards your financial dreams. And that's one of the questions you've got, number one, you've got to make a financial decision that enough's enough. Okay, you've got to have it, like, Wendy said, a turning point, or you got to just be sick and tired of being sick and tired, and say, I've had enough. I'm tired of living like this, and then get a plan together. And if you need help, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to sit down and walk through a Dead Snowball with you on how it works. There's a lot of great tools out there. Crown.org is one. I think Ramsey's got one out there. But just stack them smallest to tallest, right? And then what can I put extra? And if you don't have the money, go find the money. Okay. Go roll up your sleeves, go find the money, or stop spending money that you don't need to spend. If you're doing a lot of DoorDash at home, or, you've got a lot of subscriptions.
When that comes up.
I know, right?
They're making bank, man.
DoorDash is making bank, or go be a DoorDasher. There you go. You could be on the income side of that. What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Take your money back from them. Go make it instead of spend it.
Exactly. But but that's the thing. I mean, we're in the gig economy right now. So, there is so much money out there in side gigs, affiliate programs, just, virtual stores, things like that you can do. If you only got one stream of income, fix it. But there's no reason that you can't be out of debt in a very short period of time using the snowball. Now, why is this so important? Why all of a sudden, John, are you harping on this? Because we've talked about debt quite a bit. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, the storm is on the horizon from an economy standpoint. It's going to get hairy this year. And, the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of debt hanging over your head as we go into a more and more turbulent economy. Okay. And you need to be setting some cash back while you're paying your bills off too. Have some cash on hand, make sure you're stacking for retirement, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if you've got some other stuff to add on there. I don't know. I woke up this morning, I'm like, you got to talk about debt. You got to talk about getting people out of debt and how to do it. And it just seems to be a big part of the conversations we've had with our clients lately too.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's power. I guess what I would want to say, just kind of put a bow on it, is like, seriously reach out to us and get your, offer free wealth map. It's really John that does it. He's the genius.
We've got a team that does it. It's not just me. We've got a team that does it.
But reach out, and because seeing people get a plan together, and for them to see, okay, here's how I can get out of debt. Here's the time frame. And then here is what I can be doing with the money that I'm like eating right now. Because I'm like, some of the stuff we spend at restaurants or Starbucks or what, you're like eating your money or drinking your money, right? So instead, finding that money in the budget and seeing what it can do for your future, like, that's been the most fun thing for me when we work with clients, is them seeing what they can build in the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? And it puts that fire in you to go, you know what? Like, I want to run towards that, right? Now, Starbucks doesn't seem so appealing because I want to live a life of freedom later.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, you start looking at what do you want out of life, from a financial perspective, I guess in general, but you really need to make some decisions, and that's where having a plan in place and some coaches around you. We've talked about having your money team and stuff like that too. Really helps because it keeps you on task, it keeps you on track, and it shows you what could be. Just like you said, I mean, most people don't realize that when I pull out $10,000 or $20,000 out of my 401k, that I'm really spending 250,000. When you look at it, it's like, oh man, I never really thought of that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, man, I'm the same way with running debt. And you look at, and it really helps when you have that pain, right? I can't stress that enough, because that's what causes that emotional response of no more, enough's enough. And so you start looking at, I want to make sure that, I have a debt-free life. I want to make sure I'm stacking money away. And, when you do go out to make purchases or things like that, I always ask myself, is this moving me closer to my financial goals or taking me further away from them? And you start having those conversations with yourself, and it's like, yeah, I don't really need that. I don't really need that, whatever. And it's not really kind of go do well for me and my financial goals. So, that's kind of where it's at. But again, just in closing, don't avoid the pain, embrace it, right? Get a plan together, get with somebody and get a plan together to get out of debt, and time your house with your retirement. Don't just pay off your house. But all your other debt, all that unsecured debt, yeah, get rid of it and do it through a debt snowball. It's a lot easier than you think, but you got to make a decision to do it.
So quick question that came in.
Yep.
Is how much cash? You said we have turbulent times coming. How much cash is enough cash to have on hand?
All of it. No, I'm just teasing. So there's a couple different things there. So number one, and that's a great question, is
we can probably do a whole episode on that.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. So I like, I like to have at least 3 months of expenses. I saw an article that came out today. It says you need 12 months of expenses in hand. And I'm like, that's stupid. You need at least 3 months, and I'd say no more than 6 months. Okay. Now that's liquid cash available. That doesn't mean it's sitting in cash in a shoebox in your living room or whatever. But you want to have some liquid resources of at least 3 to 6 months, right? If you don't have 3 to 6 months, your primary target is $1,000, because that's going to cover 50-60% of the emergencies that pop up. Now, with that said, I do think you should have some cash on hand in your house. Okay. At least a couple $1,000s. Okay. And the reason behind that is if there's some kind of power outage, or if something happens in a big way with the economy, you want to make sure you've got cash available. Well, John, why wouldn't I just be able to go to the ATM and pull out my cash and stuff like that? Well, I follow global economics, right? And the global economies. Greece, a couple of years ago, literally locked down everybody's bank accounts to where you could only pull out $200 a day from your own bank account. That was it. And it got even worse. The bank shut down for a few days too. Not that that's going to happen in America, but I don't know about you. I want to make sure I've got the ability to go out and, purchase stuff if I need stuff. Right. And that's why you want to have $1,000, $2,000 cash on hand in your house. Keep it in a safe. Don't keep it in a shoebox. Right. Well, I don't have a big safe. We'll go to Walmart, buy one of those $20 little fireproof square boxes, and then hide it somewhere, because those are really easy to crack open. But it's just a matter of keeping it safe from meddling eyes, meddling hands, and fire is the big thing. So that's a great question. So,
all right.
Anything else,
Cleaver?
All right. Well, cool. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Do us a favor. Show a little love, man. Give us a subscribe button. Or click that little subscribe button. Share it with your friends and family. Share it on your social media. We'd really appreciate it. Also, we're starting a new thing called Black Swan Money Club. It's free. It's just where we're going to have more conversations, so you can ask questions like this. And it's just kind of people coming together and asking questions on how can I get better financially, and what are some things I can do. We're going to be talking about books, different things like that you can kind of do what you can do to improve your financial wherewithal. So check that out at blackswanmoney.club, blackswanmoney.club, and join us. We'd love to have you with us and help spread the word. Everybody have a great day. And Wendy, as always, it was awesome to see you, and talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.